Hi guys, in this lesson we're going to install PHP and get that up and running. PHP is a server-side technology, so it needs a server to run. If you followed along in the last lesson, you now have one of those running on your machine. So first of all we'll need to download PHP. So we can head on over to php.net and then we want to hit the downloads link. And now we want to find a link for Windows binaries, which is on the right hand side here. Okay, so there's a separate downloads area for the Windows part of the website. So we want the VC11 x86 version. We'll go for the thread-safe version, which I believe is suitable for Apache. The non-thread-safe version at the top here, I think works with IIS, so we don't need to worry about that. And we want to just download the zip. So once that's downloaded, we'll want to extract the contents somewhere. So we can put a folder on our C drive, we'll just call it PHP, and we can extract it to that. So we'll create a new folder, call it PHP, and that's now finished downloading. So what we want to do is extract that to the folder that we just created. So we can close down the browser now. And this is the contents of the PHP folder. So like Apache itself, it doesn't have an installer, so actually we're almost there now. So we just need to do a bit of manual configuration to get things working. So first of all, we need to make a php.ini file. So somewhere in this folder, if we go down a bit, there are a couple of example php.ini files here. There's a production one and a development one. So let's make a copy of the development version here. We'll paste this into the same folder, and then we'll just rename it. So it just needs to be called php.ini. And we'll click yes on the warning. Okay, great. So we now have a php.ini file. So now we need to tell Apache to load its PHP module so that it can communicate with PHP. So we can do this using Apache's configuration file, httpd-conf. We did look at that briefly in the last lesson, but we didn't really spend any time in there. So now we want to go back and edit that file again. We're going to want to run a text editor as administrator. And we've already got the conf file open here, which is convenient. So what we want to do is just go right down to the bottom of this file, and then we could add a new configuration section just for PHP. So we'll start off with a comment just so that if we need to change anything, we know exactly which bits to change. What we want to do is load the PHP module. So let's just go back to our directory and we can see what the PHP module is called. It's this module here, php5 apache 2_4.dll. So now back in the Apache conf file, we want to say load module. So that's the load module directive that tells Apache to load a module. And the name of this module is php5_module. So it's the php5 module basically. And now we want to specify the path to this module. So this is in our PHP folder. And we just need to change the slashes so that they point forwards. And remember, the file is called php5 apache 2_4.dll. Is that right? php5 apache 2_4.dll. Good. Okay, so that will now load the php5 module. So now we need to add the MIME type handlers for PHP files. So we can do that on the next line down. Now we can say add type application x httpd php.php. So we're adding the MIME type for PHP and the file extension. So last of all, we just need to point Apache at the php.ini file that we just created. And we can do that by setting the php.ini dir directive. So that's php.ini dir. So the case is important. Make sure you get all the capitals in the right places or it won't work. And then we just need to tell it where the ini file is, which is in C.php. So we'll save that, and that should now be everything that we need to do. So when we make changes to the httpd conf file and Apache is running, we just need to restart Apache for it to see the changes. So like I mentioned in the last lesson, we can do that with the handy Apache monitor utility. So if we just left click on that, we get this menu here, and then we can choose restart. So it happens very quickly, and if there's a problem, it will give us an error message. So we've not seen a pop-up with an error message in, so it looks like everything's fine. We can just check that the server still has the green play icon. It does. So it seems that the restart has happened and everything is fine. So we should test that PHP is working, and we can do that simply by using a standard PHP test called PHP info. So what we need to do is just create a new file, and inside this file we just want to put php info, which is a function name. It's built into PHP, and it will give us a lot of information about our PHP instance, as long as Apache is configured correctly. So if this file does nothing, or if it gives us an error, then we know that Apache is not quite configured right. But what we're hoping to see is quite a long page full of information about our PHP instance. So we want to save this. Now we want to save this in the current document root. So that is the folder which Apache serves documents from. So when we opened up our browser in the last lesson and went to localhost, the folder that Apache served the localhost page from is the htdocs folder inside the Apache folder. So we need to navigate there, and we're almost there actually. We can just go up a level. And this folder here, htaccess, by default, this is the default document root. So we'll save this file in here, and we'll just call it php.info.php. And we just want to change the file extension to all types. Great. Okay, so this is now a PHP file. So at this point, we should be able to open up a browser. And if we go localhost /php info.php, if PHP is set up and configured correctly, we should see lots of information now about PHP. And this is what the php info command prints out. So it tells us the PHP version that we're running. It gives us a bit of information about the system and the web server, you know, where the configuration files are, etc., etc. And if we keep scrolling down, then we see more information about Apache. We can see some of the headers that were part of the request to this file. And then we can see some of the other PHP features that are currently enabled. So there's lots and lots of them. As you can see, we don't really need to pay too much attention to what they are at this point. Clearly, PHP is installed and configured correctly, and that's all we're worried about for now. So in this lesson, we installed PHP and configured Apache to use it. We also saw the PHP info page, which allowed us to verify that PHP is installed and working as it should. In the next lesson, we'll install the last part of our local stack, something that's very often used with Apache and PHP, the open source database engine, MySQL. Thanks for watching.